Welcome back to the Friday Matinee on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm George.
I'm Tori in for T.
You did a very good job. I didn't even give you the high sign or anything like that. Our next guest is someone who we've had on the show a few times, and she is a Santa Clarita resident, and kind of worked her way into the book writing industry, most notably kind of the romance novel industry.
Yes.
So quite the imagination. And so welcome Catherine Bybee. I should say New York Times bestselling author, Catherine Bybee.
And USA Today. Hello.
And USA. They're on multiple lists. And what did you say? Your newest book, Doing It Over.
Yes.
You said just reached number 35?
Well, I think it reached as high as 7 the first week
okay.
it was released on Amazon's bestseller list. So,
I see. So how does this happen where you go from, you were a nurse originally, right?
I was an ER nurse, yes.
How did you go from that to becoming a best-selling romance author?
Oh, well, I just wrote a book.
That's it. And that was easy.
That's it.
On your lunch breaks and just put it out there.
No, like I said before, I had gotten hurt on the job and I was home convalescing for about the first year of me not working in the hospital. And I got bored, I was online, playing the internet, Facebook, whatever sucks you in, and decided to use some time productively. So I started writing.
And it just so happened, instead of writing a book about ER procedures or, a science fiction novel or something, you decided to write a romance novel.
Yes, I like to escape into a world of happily ever after. I mean, things aren't happily ever after in the emergency room, let's face it. Most of the time, those days kind of really stink. So when I came home and read when I was at work, I wanted to read something that was inspirational and that I knew was going to end well. So romance novels were always my go-to genre to read, so it was quite easy to fall into.
So it was an easy fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you a big reader?
I'm a huge reader.
Huge reader.
I love reading.
See, because that's when she said she was home convalescing. I see. My thing would be turning on the TV. My creative brain stops. That's how far it stops. Laying on the couch and watching TV.
Yeah, but sometimes when you're watching TV, you don't know what to expect. You don't know if the bad guy's really going to get it or if the good guy's going to get killed off. Sometimes sometimes you want to.
And in this case,
it
almost always. I want to ask you, when you start writing these, what do you write first? Do you write the saucy parts and then build a story around it first? Because that's obviously, as a guy, that's probably exactly, okay, I've got this great 20 minutes here. How do I build it into a story?
No, I actually usually just come up with the first couple lines and sometimes just the name of the book, and then I just write around it.
Your latest book, Doing It Over.
Yes, it's about 3. This is actually a trilogy, the first in a series, so there's going to be 3 books. And this is an inspiration that I came up with when I had a girls' weekend from my friends from my childhood. So, when you were in high school, you get the titles of most likely to succeed, most likely to go to jail, most likely to be the welfare mother of 2. And so I took those 3 thoughts, and I'm creating 3 books with just that synopsis.
And this first one is the voted most likely to succeed.
Right, and she runs off to come to college, and she's from Oregon, so they in a small town in Oregon State, and she goes to college down here in California, and finds out within a very short amount of time that all of her dreams are just going to come crashing to a halt when she meets Mr. Wrong, finds herself pregnant, and then she has to go back home with her tail between her legs for her 10-year class reunion, and that's where this book begins.
And Wyatt Gibson never liked the big city.
No, he didn't.
I don't want to give away too much, of course. How many books have you written so far?
This is my 23rd release.
Wow, because it seems like now we're friends on Facebook, and aside from living my life vicariously through you because you travel a lot, it seems like you're always writing.
I am always writing.
I know we like to think that there's the glamorous lifestyle of jet setting and hanging out in the pool.
I do that
and doing
too.
Nothing, but in between, you're also under some sort of pressure, at least to write X amount of words a day, or how do you do it?
Well, I do a lot of procrastination, like that Facebook void that throws you in. There's a lot of procrastination that goes on, and then there's sheer panic when the deadline starts to loom, and then I'm sitting in what I call the writing cave for a very long period of time, which may just be a couple of weeks, but I'm like in your cave here at the station. My cave is one room, one computer, and I'm telling everybody to run away and telling telling my children that if they need food, that they need to make sure that I get some too, because I'm not going to cook it for them.
Come in only if you're bleeding, right?
Oh, no, bleeding. They should know how to do a field dressing at this point in time, and we have fire extinguishers. So, unless,
just in case,
right?
But that cave probably is when you. I mean, that's how you work. Then it's probably the best system for you. You look at the deadline, you ignore it until, and then when you're forced to do it, these beautiful words come out on paper.
Yeah, and sometimes I just sit down and I will start writing, and I won't get up until it's nearly done, and those are crazy, wonderful days, because usually those are the words that are the most profound, and they come out the best. So
just like that.
Just like that. It's crazy.
Just like that. 23 books.
Yeah.
This is going to be the one that's going to take up your next few, though, right?
I mean, I have 2 more in the queue, 2 more that are ready to release. They're just waiting for production schedules. So I have another one coming in September and a following one in January, and then, yeah.
How much of Santa Clarita, you living in the valley, how much is in the book? Could we, when we read your books, especially this new trilogy that's coming out, because I'm very interested in this, how much of Santa Clarita are we going to... Are we going to say, that's the mall that she's talking about?
Not so much this, because this book actually takes place in a fictitious town in Oregon. But some of my previous books, there's no doubt, I will put a lot of settings off the 14 and Acton, let's say.
Jake's Way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, well, maybe not Jake's Way. No,
not that there's anything wrong with Jake's Way.
No, nothing wrong with that. But there are some just similarities, and I'm supposed to say nothing is written about real people, but let's face it, there's a lot of people in my life, and there's no reason to ignore their personalities.
Well, it's taking their essence and personality.
Right.
There you go.
Just writing just enough difference so I can't go, hey!
I was going to say, is George on 178? I'm reading here.
I know, right?
Sounds an awful lot like George.
One day we'll do that. Don't worry.
That would be...
I will change the names to protect the guilty.
Be incredibly awkward. Awesome. So I want to ask you, so you had convalesced, just coming back around.
Yeah.
Did you go back to work after you just were able to?
No. I had a good 7 years of convalescing before I was actually in a position where I could go back. And by that time, this had taken off, and this is a little cleaner of a job.
a little opportunity had come your way and you took it. I like that.
Plus, you can do it in your jammies.
Yeah, I don't have to put on nylons and makeup, right? Right. No, I don't have to put on anything. Well, that's maybe something. That would be awkward.
That's inspiration for
naked
page
writing.
206.
No. That's right.
Right? Okay.
Exactly. So we've got this. We got 23 novels. We've got the best-selling list. Now, your first one, I think you mentioned that in writing it, you did several rewrites, or how did that go out before you finally decided, okay, this is a great enough story, I want to publish it? Did you have connections already? Or
no, I had no connections. No, I had to reinvent the wheel. And when I published my 10th book, the one that actually was my breakout hit, I did that in a self-publishing platform, and we were inventing the wheel at that point. Those people that were out there really self-publishing and hitting it hard for the first time, and it was not an easy task. I mean, learn how to be the publisher, learn how to be the editors. You hire editors and you hire certain people, cover artists and that kind of stuff, but you have to have the eye for it, and you have to have the marketing skills for that. And it wasn't easy. It was a whole different world than writing. Writing is its own little world, and then you've got to do the whole make it happen part too.
And that's the second part I want to talk about, because you have a lot of people who I'd love to write a book.
Sure.
Just write a book. I'm a writer, but then they still go to their day jobs and nothing's ever published. What is that? What would you, if you're going to give some piece of advice to someone who thinks they have something that's publishable, what would be that first step?
Other than writing the book, because that's always the number one step. Because everybody says, I have a great story. But write it, get it done, and get it on paper. And then you need to start the task of really determining what path you want to go. Yes, there's self-publishing path, and there's still 5 amazing publishers out there that will help make things happen for you. If in fact the book they deem good enough to be hitting the market. That's the wonderful thing about being a writer today, is you really don't have to have that. I mean, if the book is good enough, but the publisher just doesn't think it's going to sell right now. I mean, it really comes down to what's going to sell right now. Small town romance sells really well, but paranormal doesn't sell as well as it did back when the vampires first came out. So they have a very judgmental way of looking at that. So you have to determine where your book fits, what market it fits in, and at that point determine if you need an agent to help you get to the next level of self-publication or if you're going to go about that your own. I think you have to dive into it, the publishing part of it, just as heavily as you dive into the writing part of it, or it's never going to find an audience.
And do you have your own marketing people at that stage, or do you do that too?
I do it all. Yes, at this point in time, yes, my publisher with Amazon Montlake does a lot of marketing with me, but it is a collaborative effort where they lead off, I kick in, and vice versa. I mean, these contacts, like sitting with you guys today and talking, are contacts that I've made, not them. Obviously, there's times that they put me in front of a big audience as well. I'll be in Chicago next week for Book Expo America, which they have set up for me to sign and meet people and schmooze and do the other parts that will hopefully just continue my career.
And do people, now see, you brought in books for us. You brought in books for all of us. And this is just such a neat thing because I'm old fashioned. I love the book.
Yeah.
I can't read a book on the Nook.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
The Kindle or the Nook, yeah.
Right? I can't.
You read it. Why?
It doesn't feel right to me. And I love that you brought us a book. Like a real book. Am I that old fashioned? Is it?
It's not that you're that old fashioned, but I will ask you how do you get your media for music? Do you download that? Because I don't see a record player in here.
Yeah, we don't have those here.
Yeah, exactly. So
she's a smarty pants.
I am. I'm kind of that way. But eventually, I think that's the path, though, isn't it? I mean, the media is changing, and how we get our media is changing. I will say that I don't even know what the percentage is, but I will say 10,000 to 1. I will sell 10,000 to 1 copies of Kindle versus a print book.
Do you? Yeah. I'm the one.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of you out there, and I appreciate every one of you.
No, and you're right about that kind of changing thing. And I talk also about like the democratization of the art forms of across the board. Because we talk about, we have musicians come in and they self-publish or as what it used to be 20, 30 years ago where you couldn't do that. Or if you, if you shot a film, you might be able to get maybe a dozen video copies you're going to send out to your friends. Now you can put it on YouTube, if nothing else, and monetize it that way. And even with, we're talking about self-publishing, if nothing else, you can put it on your own website and start driving traffic to that and hopefully building at least that to start off with. There's all kinds of ways to do it.
There is. And the one big piece of advice I give to everybody who determines that self-publishing is the route they need to do is to make sure that they don't self-publish garbage. Make sure it is the absolute best piece of work you could ever put out at that point in your day, in your career, in your writing, because if you try and snag an audience, if you will, by giving them something that isn't all that great, but you just want to test the waters, you're doing it wrong, and those people are not going to come back and reread you.
There's no testing the waters.
There really isn't. Not when your first book comes out and you're trying to self-publish it, because how often do you pick up an author a second time if you didn't like your first book that you read by him?
I think of the emails we get if there's an accidental typo in one of our stories.
Oh, yeah.
So think about that.
Oh, I don't have to think about it. Yeah. People will find my mistakes.
Oh, yeah. and talking about your fan base, though, you have that's really grown. Is it nationwide? Is it worldwide?
It's worldwide. I'm in, I think, 13 languages now.
Wow.
I know, right? That's amazing. I'm going to be in Sydney, Australia in August, and I'm going to be going to Berlin next year. And my German readers are fanatics, and I love it. Yeah.
She says that so... Yeah, I've got, in different languages. Just think about how that's so dynamic. That's so, your words now have been translated into different languages. Yeah. That's fascinating. And what an amazing, you must go to bed and just smile till you fall asleep.
I do, but then, the doors are starting to get wider because my head is getting too big.
That's it.
No, it is. Every time I'll click on something like on Instagram, and I won't have seen the book yet in whatever Slovenian, Turkish. I don't even know, quite honestly, because I open up, I'm like, I can't read the language, but I see the cover and I see the in a different language, and I get tickled. Of course I do.
So the artwork is the same.
No, it's a difference from culture to culture. Oh, really? Yeah, sometimes they'll keep the same, but for the most part, when it goes into a different language, it's a different way of catching the audience. They look at it differently.
That's wild. Yeah. Fascinating.
It's like cover posters and things. Sometimes they'll have a different one for movies in a different language. So that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So when we talk about working, you're talking about you close off the cave, but and we talked about you starting with the a couple of words or just a sentence or an idea. what is your work day when you're not traveling and jet setting and being famous? What does your work day consist of? Is there a set time that you do it, or is it as your imagination sparks?
Well, I mean, my day starts with working out, because if I sat in the chair and didn't work out, I would be as big as a house, and that won't work for me. And then I will. If I come home and I've got an idea, then I will start working on it. I try when I'm really writing, and when I say I'm really writing, because I kind of play at it until the ideas really seed inside of my head, and then I sit down and I live and breathe it for 2-3 weeks or whatever it is to get the majority of it on paper. So I won't go to bed at night without a few sentences in the next scene. I never go to bed when I end a chapter. I never go to bed when I end a scene or whatever, just to give myself an idea of what's going to happen next, because I'm not a plotter at all, honestly. My plotting goes, I think maybe this should happen at some point in the next 300 pages, and that's the extent of my plotting, and things just kind of happen organically. I don't even know my characters necessarily when I open the book and start when I start with chapter 1.
So sometimes where you take these classes where they have you sketch it out and get your notes together and prepare.
We call my style of writing a pantser.
A pantser. See, as in by the seat of your
seat of my pants.
Got it.
Well, I like that because it's the characters are growing inside your mind, and the story's growing inside your mind is going, and
they do
to me it makes a lot of sense.
And they do things that I didn't expect. I'm usually cussing at them about mid-book because they've made me change my plot point, my twist, and yeah. It's an interesting conversation I have with myself. Schizophrenia beats dining alone.
Did your whole family, have they read all your books? Do they have favorites? Do they?
Oh, you're cute. Let's see. I'm the mother of 2 sons. One that, the older they are, the younger I was when I had them. So I'm not even going to go there. 20 and 17. And they tell me they haven't read anything. I think some of their friends, that might not be the case, and certainly their friends' parents or mothers, they've read them. My father's read every single word I've ever written, and he's usually harping at me if he doesn't get to the good parts by chapter 13.
Oh.
We love Dad.
We love Dad.
Chapter 13.
No, actually, I think it happens later in that book, but okay. So yes, they do read them. I've got a good family support with that.
A good support system.
So we're speaking with author Catherine Bybee, romance author, and Santa Clarita resident.
Yes.
23 romance novels published, and also, not to mention, worldwide in 13 languages. You were mentioning last time, and I was kind of joking around a little bit, but when we talked, and this is a few years ago, about having a large male fan base as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, large in percent. People are always surprised when they say that you have male readers. But
because we think of it as
female genre.
Yeah,
and it is primarily a female genre. Let's face that. But sometimes men like to read happily ever after too. They want that guarantee too.
That's true.
And there's a lot of romantic suspense in my books. Don't let the covers fool you. There's a big plot twist in here that involves kidnapping and all kinds of things.
Ooh,
so hey,
very exciting.
With wait a minute, Melanie Bartlett.
Right.
Bartlett?
Bartlett.
Mm-hmm. Melanie Bartlett.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, here's the thing with guys. You guys like a good rom-com, George. You don't like to, generally.
Every now and then I like to check out with something that's all right. Yeah.
Right?
Or are you just forced to go to the chick flicks with the wife?
Well, she's not as big on the rom-coms either. We both are like, okay, I dare you to entertain us. But there are the surprising ones that were like, oh, that was really, really good. You know, so yeah.
Yeah,
I'll go with the occasional.
Mm-hmm.
And that I dare you to entertain us factor happens a lot when you tell people, oh, you're a writer. Oh, what do you write? You don't write those romance novels, do you? I'm like, yes, I write those romance novels. I absolutely write books that are going to make people smile. But you do get that snarkiness,
Well, and you get the snarkiness from the people who are on to their next vampire, mob, gangster, space epic.
Right. Right. Exactly. Which is great. It's fabulous. I don't care how you get your books or what you like to read. Just read. Right?
Exactly. I mean, there's genres for everybody.
That's
exactly.
There's enough room at the table.
Right, and there's a lot of genres within romance, and that's what people don't really understand. You can get an entirely science fiction world. You can get people, a body count in your books.
Well, I think a long time ago, when I was a kid, there were the pictures of what was the guy's name?
Fabio.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think after a while, romance novels kind of got a bad name because of the dude with the long, right? You had this dude on the cover,
right? And
you're right. But I think since then it has made its way back into a respectable arena, and we actually like to read. They're great stories.
They are, and keep in mind that romance is the number one selling genre out there. Number one selling. I think it's, and I don't quote me, I think it's over 56% of the books sold on a daily basis are romance novels.
Happily ever after.
Exactly. Yeah. Numbers say it all.
Exactly. Website, KatherineBybee.com, BYBEE.com. And are these available in such things as brick and mortar bookstores as well?
Depends on if they like it enough to keep it in there. Barnes & Noble and Amazon don't really play in the same doghouse often. And since Amazon is my publisher, you won't find a huge selection at Barnes & Noble. But you absolutely can get them. You can. And there's a lot of local bookstores actually that carry me at this point.
Hardcover copies or your Kindle / downloads Nooks, which are really
But
awesome.
I have my hardcover.
Your hardcover,
make me happy.
That's it.
You can smell the pages.
It's
can't
the
you?
smell of romance. Wait a minute, that didn't.
I don't know that's
good.
But,
this has been fun, Catherine. It's good to see you again after all these years. And again, living my life vicariously through your travels and adventures through Facebook. So you've got. You say you're going to Chicago next week.
I am for Book Expo America.
And then Berlin coming up.
Yeah, and next year. Yeah.
Well, very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And good luck again. KatherineBybee.com, BYBEE, and start from the beginning and work all the way through. Doing It Over is her latest book, the first in a trilogy. Yes. So it keeps you coming back for more.
It does.
So again, thanks for coming out here, Catherine. This is the Friday Matinee. We'll be back with the final wrap up with Tori and I right after this. Welcome back to the Friday Matinee on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS, and you are
Tori in for T.
The Tori in for T. That's like I said, it's the Tori in for Tea. So you've been here now, Tori, a while, couple like a month-ish, so?
About it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you've been filling in for T. She's been out doing things.
Mm-hmm.
She's all like famous and stuff, and whatever she's doing. She's producing something. She's been in a couple TV commercials and some TV shows. So something else going on. While little old us are just here on our local AM radio station. But so how are you adjusting? You good?
It's what.
Remember, this is on a film, and it's on also.
I hear you. It's it's always moving. It's always moving. It's hard to explain, but the respect I have for you and T is off the charts. You guys have this down. You can spin the plates, chew gum, walk, and paint a painting all at the same time. It's an amazing thing you guys do. So I have the utmost respect.
But you've had all these years experience in radio.
It's a different animal. It's a different animal. It's a different type of radio. It's not local. I mean, the just talking to Catherine today and John, the talent that we have here locally is it's blowing me away. I had no idea. And you don't have that idea when you're not on that local level. I was doing network radio, and you don't get to visit with these people. You do interviews on the phone usually, and you ask the questions that their publisher or their publicist wants to get.
Really organic about it.
There's nothing, yeah.
Oh,
so it's a different animal. So this is a lot harder. This is a lot harder, George.
Well, you're doing quite well. Because I've been listening to today and also on the interviews. But yeah, that's the fun thing about this show is, for the most part, it's local talent. Sometimes we do get names from out of the area that have kind of a big picture. We've had some celebrities on the show as well, and it's always fun to be able to bring them to this level as well and be able to have kind of that organic conversation with them. So that's fun. Coming up, what do we have? In the Heights at COC this weekend.
You must see this show, George.
And okay, I'm getting the look.
Because I saw it opening night, and if I saw it opening night, they've had shows since. It was just an amazing, and the sets and the talent. It was like a professional performance. I can't say enough.
And it's closing this Sunday, I think, right?
I believe so,
At College of the Canyons, Santa Clarita Performing Arts Center, College of the Canyons, canyonspac.com. And I think Valencia High School has one more night of Little Shop of Horrors at the Valencia High School campus. You can check that out. Just do Google Valencia High School Little Shop of Horrors.
That's a fun musical.
So this has been the Friday Matinee. Thank you so much, Tori, for filling in. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
And we will see you next week. Stick around for My Conscious Dad coming up after this.